And welcome to this edition of ACAP Today for Wednesday, the 6th of May, 2020. I'm Jason Parent of the Aroostook County Action Program. On today's program, Jeff Ashby, one of our ACAP board members, will be joining me in just a little bit. Jeff is a private practice attorney here in Presque Isle, and he's going to talk to us about the changes with the court system and his world in the legal world as a result of COVID-19 and how things are looking in the coming months in terms of resumption of some degree of normalcy within the court system. So he'll be with us in just a little bit. But first, as we do every day at this time, at the beginning of ACAP Today, a look at some of the headlines and information that you can use from the Aroostook County Action Program as we continue our commitment to our Community Week here on program. First up for us is to remind individuals that our offices will remain closed to the public through the 31st of May. Services, however, are continuing remotely, and we are currently working on plans on how we will resume customer service in the month of June, of course, monitoring any changes with any officials from the Centers for Disease Control and others relating to new guidelines after the 31st of May. So expect more information on this as information comes available to us. The website, the ACAP website, I should say, has an opportunity for you to request assistance online on our website. This special portal that is found on our main page of our website, you can click on our main page of our website and get to the portal, will allow you to enter in specific information, answer some questions that provide us with the opportunity to better assist you when we reach back out to you and talk to you about what services you may be eligible for and help provide better direction to you. So we encourage folks out there to use that. We have, in the last month, helped over 600 additional clients. And today, yesterday we talked about it being Giving Tuesday. Today is Thank You Wednesday. And so we thank all of the individuals who have allowed us to serve them in this last year, but we also thank the numerous businesses, companies, private foundations, and certainly individuals and families across Aroostook County, as well as civic organizations who have come forward since the pandemic started with support for our organization, but specifically for people in need in the Aroostook County community. We're blessed to report to you that over $70,000 has come in to ACAP in the last several weeks to support directly community needs at this time, from helping people with hunger issues to providing diapers and wipes for young families that are having difficulty initially accessing those and affording those these days, to many other services, including some of the necessities in the Hope and Prosperity Wellness Shelter at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. So this is indeed Thank You Wednesday nationally, but certainly here at ACAP, and we're profoundly grateful to our community for the way that they've responded. We also want to let you know how some of that money has been put to use here and how we've been able to help other individuals in Aroostook County. We have served in excess of 100 households who have called us that are in need of assistance from the Home Energy Assistance Program that have been directly impacted by COVID-19 economically. We've also supported 30 new families in the Women, Infant, and Children's Program with access to healthy nutrition and certainly have the opportunity to serve more as we move forward. We've received well over 300 applications at this point for the rental assistance program, the COVID-19 rental assistance program, in partnership with Maine Housing, that provides up to a $500 assistance payment to the landlord of an individual renter who has been impacted economically by COVID-19. We are delivering 793 meals daily to Head Start families, early care and education families, early Head Start and child care families across Aroostook County through our centers and through our partnerships with public schools. And we thank the public schools and our partners, and most especially our staff that are working very, very diligently to get those meals out every day, 3 meals a day, and snacks as well. We've helped 13 individuals who are experiencing homelessness during this pandemic access the Hope and Prosperity Wellness Shelter in partnership with the University of Maine at Presque Isle, and are very grateful for the opportunity to have served folks in that capacity. And we've assisted 19 young adults who have attended virtual financial literacy classes during this pandemic. So this is how, in part, your contributions are being put to use right here in ACAP. And altogether, all told, over 600 individuals in our community that hadn't previously been receiving ACAP services have turned to us in the last several weeks. Beyond that, one of the programs where we've mentioned that we've seen a change is in the Home Energy Assistance Program, and one of the very positive changes in that program, not only for COVID-19, but in this current season that we're in this current heating season that we're in, is that the income eligibility guidelines have been increased. And so we think that many more Aroostook County residents, whether they've been impacted by COVID-19 or not, are eligible to receive a HEAP benefit this year. It's very important that folks consider, if they have not done so in the current heating season, so since August, September of last year, have not applied for HEAP, please do check on our website. The income guidelines are posted right there. And we think folks may be eligible. Do not wait until it's getting cold again in the fall, because our appointments are booked through early winter by that point with existing customers who are vulnerable for hypothermia. So please do call us today and get an appointment for HEAP. We'll be taking appointments until the 15th of July this year, and the benefit will stay on your fuel account with your fuel vendor for up to 18 months. So please do reach out to us and do that appointment proactively as we're heading into the nicer weather months here. We are offering, and this is filling up fast, a virtual first-time homebuyer program. Greg Doak will be presenting that on the 23rd of May, and we encourage folks to register for that. His contact information is on your screen. There are a number of benefits to successful completers of this course, including $3,500 toward closing costs on your new home and a very low interest rate that is afforded to folks. We are currently taking applications for our summer and fall Head Start programs. We are offering a summer session this year to help, especially with children who have been impacted by COVID-19 that have been out of preschool classrooms for a number of weeks now. And assuming that we're all set to go and offer the summer Head Start program, we will be resuming or offering those services after the 4th of July. So please do contact us about that, but also contact us about fall Head Start enrollment. We would love to have your children in our program this fall, and it's a very high quality program, and our teachers do wonderful things with the students. And we also wanted to remind folks, as I mentioned, that there is a wellness shelter for individuals experiencing homelessness at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. Please do reach out to us if you know of somebody who's experiencing homelessness, so we can help them in our partnership with Maine Housing and UMPI on this project. The rent relief program, as I mentioned, we are up to 321 applicants served as of today, and we certainly have availability to serve more individuals in this program. Please do call us or go online at mainhousing.org/COVID-rent, and you can fill out the application right there online. And we want to remind folks, lastly, of our challenge to get out and get moving during this pandemic. And on a beautiful day like today, when the weather is improving, we want to encourage you to do that. Obviously, we don't want you to do team sports or recreational classes or things of that nature. We want you to continue to social distance. But please do be physically active. Go for a walk, take a bike ride. You can do it as a family if you're all quarantined together, if you will. But to incentivize that, we're doing in partnership with Northern Light AR Gould and their Fit and Fun series and our Let's Go 5210 program here at ACAP are offering for individuals to be entered into a random drawing. If you send us a photo of you and your family doing physical activity in the community, they'll be drawn each Friday throughout the month of May. Winners will be drawn, so please do share your photo with Don Roberts at droberts@northernlight.org. If you happen to send it to us here at ACAP, we'll make sure Don gets it as well. And the winning photo and other photos will be shared on Facebook as well. So encourage you to please do that. And lastly, we want to welcome to the program, as we discussed today, as I mentioned, the impacts to law during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're pleased to welcome to ACAP Today now Jeff Ashby, who is one of ACAP's wonderful volunteer board of directors, and we appreciate you certainly doing it and volunteering much of your time to our organization and to the great things we do across Aroostook County. So thank you for that, Jeff, and also want to point out that Jeff is a private practice attorney here in Presque Isle, and that's part of the reason why we asked him to be on the program today. We explored how education and the higher education and technical and career education landscape has changed. But Jeff, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here.
So talk to us about just that. How have things changed in your world and in the court systems and with law these days?
Wow, things couldn't possibly have changed more. The court system, I'm reading that my internet connection is unstable. I'm sorry about that. I'll hang in there. The court system has been profoundly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The system has been very proactive in messaging to us, establishing protections for the folks who use the court system, restricting significantly the activity going on in the courts. And so in that sense, it's an ordered change, but it's a significant change, and it's directly impacting the citizens' use of the court system, impacting negatively in that a great number of cases are not being heard right now while this is going on.
We're experiencing some of that with individuals that we're working with, individuals and families that we're working with, most notably the rental assistance program that we're doing, folks that we're finding, some folks that had been or were in a precarious position around potential eviction and things of that note that world has changed dramatically. What are you seeing in terms of ways that clients of yours or others have been impacted in sort of the slowing down of the process?
Well, there are a number of areas. Well, I'll give you an overview of what is going on in the courts and what is not going on. You referenced the evictions, for example. Those are just straight civil cases. They are not emergencies. Now, if you're either a tenant or a landlord who's not collecting rent, or a tenant facing eviction, I'm sure you consider your rental situation an emergency, but the courts have put on hold all civil actions that are not emergent. And as a result, there are no evictions going on right now in the court system. And it's been that way for a couple of months. And there's no change anticipated, as I understand it, to that currently. In family matters, there is very little going on in the general sort of family type cases, divorces, child custody cases. The most recent change and relaxation of the restrictions of the pandemic have permitted our family law magistrate to handle some pro forma scheduling kind of hearings via telephone. And so in that sense, people's divorces are proceeding, but not like they were. Mediations are not being held, and that's usually where most work is done in the court system in divorces. And so family matters have really slowed down, but there's been a slight relaxation. We have our family law magistrate back working at those cases, at least to move them a little bit, because we all anticipate that in a few months, the court system is going to be jammed, and I mean just jammed. And so they're doing everything they can to avoid that. In other areas, the courts are required to go forward and are making, they make changes to the protocols, but they're going forward with hearings and getting justice done in cases involving emergent situations like people who are facing domestic violence. So protective orders are still going forward and being heard. Folks who are in the protective custody world, that means the DHHS child protective cases, those cases are going forward. And in fact, been a pretty robust practice in the child protective world. People who are facing criminal charges have constitutional rights to have certain things happen in their cases. There's a lot that's not happening, but folks that have been incarcerated, folks that are arrested have the right to get before a judge, to get arraigned. And in that sense, those cases are proceeding. But we aren't doing jury trials, and we aren't giving folks trials at this stage. I know they're looking at that very closely to make sure that they scrupulously guard folks' constitutional rights, but not as much as happening in the criminal justice world as folks would like. We are able, either by video conferencing or using telephone conferences, we are able to facilitate bail hearings, pleas. If people do want to plead out or to make arrangements for a negotiated settlement, some of those things are happening. If something can be done by negotiated agreement, the courts are willing to make time for that to happen. We're doing increasingly, we're being
Jeff, I think we've lost our connection.
to the court system, and when it's really negatively impacted both the citizens of the county and the state, and of course my practice. Work is to a point has fallen off. I've been busy. There's a lot of pandemic related emergencies that are coming up because of the changes in opportunities to fix some problems that have arisen because of the pandemic. And so I guess I'm busy. That was kind of a long answer, but.
And unfortunately, we've had an internet stability issue there, and I lost a considerable part of that last question. I was trying to jump in and let you know that we had a significant period of time in the answer to that last question that we didn't get in. So I think I was trying to piece parts of it together, and I'm hearing that it has impacted your business. The business of the court slowing down has impacted your business. But what are you seeing from the perspective of cases that may be coming forward? Like you talked about domestic violence cases that are still being heard and things of that nature, but we're living differently right now in terms of folks being more at home in instances where children previously had been going to school or to day programs and things of that nature. Some of that's not happening. Are we seeing an increase in rates from your perspective on some of those challenges?
Well, I've heard that. I don't have personal knowledge of that necessarily. I'm familiar with sort of what's been put out there in social media and whatnot about concerns that the rates of domestic violence are rising, the rates of child abuse are rising. I certainly do not see any drop off in the activity of the Department of Human Services in child protective cases. If anything, it seems as if there's more, in my experience, and I do a great deal of that work. It seems like there's more of that happening. I don't know as I've seen in my own practice an uptick in domestic violence cases, but I do know those cases are being prosecuted as they always had. Well, there's been some changes to the protocols, but they're being prosecuted. And I'm going to guess that probably that those numbers are up. If they're not up, they haven't gone down.
Are you concerned at all, and prior to your work in private practice, you worked for many years with Pine Tree Legal, are you concerned that folks that aren't in a position to be able to hire private attorneys or to engage in the legal system maybe are more disconnected or have a more difficult time accessing the legal system, that they may be in more jeopardy at this time during this pandemic and in the months that will ensue afterwards, given the backlog that you indicated the courts will have?
You know, that is an excellent question, and it goes directly to the mission of ACAP. And I'm glad that it seems to be your primary concern. It is exactly the case that that this significant decrease in access to the justice system as a result of COVID-19 is going to impact folks, and low-income folks probably disproportionately. It's not a joke, but I guess I would say that probably folks that are having challenges paying their rent are directly sort of benefiting from this, but that's a pretty small subset of the people who are ultimately going to be harmed by access to justice issues. I know that our court system, our chief justices in the state of Maine are very mindful of that, and they're really trying hard to make this system accessible. One example, let me give you an example of how low-income, people who are disenfranchised in the justice system are losing out. The Department of Health and Human Services has put a moratorium on home visits or in-person visits between parents and children in the custody of the Department of Human Services. We're now on our second month of doing that. That is a disaster. I mean, that is a direct barrier to reunification efforts that the state is otherwise statutorily responsible to undertake in a regime or a system that is time sensitive, so that parents who don't reunify within a certain period of time face the prospect of termination of their parental rights, and they are now prohibited from reunifying, at least in that significant respect, actually seeing their children. They're prohibited from that by a policy in the state of Maine, and that to me is disastrous. I mean, that's just one example of how this is affecting folks.
We noted folks who are renting and the challenges and the circumstances around those who are renting and the landlord. One of the other areas that we work on, as you know, is with foreclosure counseling. And I'm anticipating, I think we're all anticipating that if we look not that long ago at the 2008 downturn in the economy, we saw a lot more mortgage foreclosure cases following that. And I know that early on in this process, we were encouraging folks to call Greg Doak, who does mortgage foreclosure counseling, because there were a number of offers out there for folks to not pay their mortgage for a few months, and what that might mean, to get a better understanding of what that might mean for them. Your thoughts about that, a particular line of what's going to come down the pipe?
Well, I think that's a real concern, that and bankruptcies. And I've been helping some folks. It's a far afield from Merced County, but down in Scarborough, there was a major plant layoff, and there are special rules that apply for employers, obligations on the part of employers who lay off more than 100 employees. And I've been helping some folks down there, and those folks are facing a real crisis. You know, it's small comfort to me, but I am a believer in the role of government helping people, and I guess I have some hope that since we're all so uniformly being affected by this, that we will be helped by this. So if I were a homeowner, for example, unable to make my mortgage because of difficulties that are occurring as a result of this pandemic, first of all, I would do everything I could, of course, to access the existing resources available to help people in need. But I guess I have some hope that the government isn't going to want us to have a new wave of foreclosures. We can't revisit 2008. I'm guessing that there'll be some remedies available for us. I say that, I got my fingers crossed, I guess.
To that point, I mean, from your perspective, there's really no playbook for this. I mean, we've not had circumstances and a convening of a pandemic at the same time as a major disruption to the economy, certainly not in modern times. How does a nation, a world, recover from this?
Wow, well, you know, I don't know, of course, but I do, from what I see in your agency and the folks that are helping fund your agency and finding, for example, emergent sources of resources for people, and what's happening in the court system, it seems like there's a willingness, at least, to believe the government can help this situation. It's refreshing to see that. We're sort of divided in a lot of ways, but we're pretty unified, I think, in an understanding and an acknowledgement that this is not something the free market's going to fix. The free market is going to be disastrously impacted by this, and is being impacted by this. And it's if there's a silver lining, it's in my opinion, it's a proper realignment of people's understanding of the role of government. So yeah, we're in uncharted territory, but we've had disasters, 1929, 1919. 1987, 2008, we've had disasters of fairly epic proportions, where economic disasters, where we have been able to recover. And I have faith that we will. And then, the human angle of it, people can snipe at each other on social media about whether or not, we should social distance, but people do seem to be in this together. And that's refreshing to see, I think.
I couldn't agree more. So I want to make sure that if there's a specific component of the law and your work that we haven't touched on that you see as being impacted, that you have the opportunity to share any of your thoughts on anything else that we haven't covered.
Well, there is confusion there's confusion among people about what's available in the court system and what's not. And I guess my advice is the clerks are available. There are limited hours in the courthouse, so that's challenging, but it's not impossible to reach the clerk's office. You should assume that you can still access justice. If I or any of my colleagues in town can help that, we will. People should be reassured that the Chief Justices they're mindful of the real constitutional and access to justice concerns that are present in this, and they're trying to address them all. It is a work in progress. We're getting a lot of good direction, though, from the clerks, from the Chief Justices about sort of opening up, changing, moving forward. As I said, the family law process is now moving forward better than it was a month ago. You can still get emergency help if you're a victim of domestic violence. You just reach out, of course, to our great advocates in town and to the courts if you need to access the courts. The Child Protective world is working, and we'll get through this.
It sounds like some busy days ahead for the courts.
Yeah, June, July, August, September, those are going to be challenging months. I can't, talk to me in a few months and see what color my hair is. You too, though, you guys have the same problem. I mean, this is a challenge for everybody.
It is indeed. Lastly, your advice, thoughts for folks out there in terms of getting through these challenging days and helping each other make it to the other side.
Well, I don't mean to be Pollyannish or I don't mean to express platitudes, but people should understand we're all in this together. People who have historically been very well off and doing well are feeling pain. People who are not well off are feeling pain. We all want this to be over. This is the closest thing I'll make to a political statement. I personally believe that Maine has been spared a lot of the disastrous effects of the virus because we have actually followed the requirements of social distancing and whatnot. So it'd be my preference that people don't sort of have those fights on social media. It's stressful to everybody, and nobody should be angry at each other about all this stuff. Let's just get through it, follow the rules and get through it. And I think that in the long run, the pain will be for a shorter duration, and we'll get through this together. So.
Some sound advice. Jeff Ashby, thank you so much for joining us on ACAP today. It's been a pleasure and great to hear from you, and hope that you and your family are staying well.
Thank you. You too, Jason.
Right, well, before we leave you today, just a reminder that we are in this, as our guest Jeff pointed out, we are all in this together. Please do reach out to us here at ACAP. We have a number of programs that folks may not have been eligible before this happened, and we certainly want to be able to help you access those services. We are here for you. Reach out to us by phone at 764-3721, by email at acap-info@acap-me.org. You can check us out on Facebook. We're posting regular updates there. You can also check out our YouTube channel. It's a great place for your family to have stories read by some wonderful early care and education professionals and some of our prevention professionals who are sharing some health tips there as well. And then visit us online at acap-me.org. We also want to let folks know and remind folks of the county resource, arousticommunity.com. It's a place to get help and give help. Post your query online or post your availability to help, whether it's bring groceries to an elderly shut-in person or in some other way, and we will do our best to match the request with assistance there. If you are unable to log on or prefer to have a phone conversation with us, call us at 764-3721, and we will certainly connect you with the services and help you make that connection. And lastly, we end as we always do with our snapshot of the day. Today, after Giving Tuesday yesterday, is Thank You Wednesday. And so we extend our appreciation to Jeff and our volunteer board of directors who have committed many, many hours to our work throughout Aroostook County. And we wanted to say thank you to them and thank you to all of the individuals who support our work across Aroostook County. With that, that is our program for today. We'll be back with another edition of ACAP Today tomorrow. So please do join us then. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.